And hello and welcome to Scalino's Field. Dave Soberi on the play-by-play. So glad you've joined us for this non-league matchup featuring the Inland Valley Buccaneers taking on AOS Baseball. This is the second time these two teams have met. The first time the Inland Valley Buccaneers coming out with the victory on a Sunday morning at 11 a.m. It was a couple Sundays ago, and it was a very, very good game for the Bucs in the sense that, well, it started out a little shaky. It was 5-0 in that game. The Bucs trailed. But then all of a sudden, in the seventh inning, or the sixth inning, I should say, of that game, they get a 5-run inning, tied up at 5 apiece. Then they get one in the seventh and 6 in the eighth, and end up winning 12-5 after trailing by 5 runs. And in that game, you very, very well remember that there was a grand slam hit in that game down the left field line by Anthony Seminaris. Seminaris clearing the bases in that eighth inning where the Bucs scored 6 runs. That game, there were a lot of pitchers involved. Gerardo Ramirez, Eric Trask, Chris Sanchez, Micah Byer, Diaz, and De La Pena. Here today, it looks like Nathaniel Acosta will be pitching most of the way for this game, or at least as long as he can go. He is the starting pitcher, and he is just about set to make his first pitch of the game here against the leadoff hitter Daniel Martinez from AOS. First pitch, fastball outside, ball 1-0 the count. I'll give you the defensive arrangement for the Inland Valley Buccaneers right after this next pitch from Nathaniel Acosta, the 6'2", 225-pound right-handed pitcher. 2-chopper, bounce to the right side over at Michael Smith, the second baseman. He fields cleanly and gets it over to Spawn for the first out of the game. So going left to right across the outfield, it'll be Diego Cortez, Bryce Brooks, and Anthony Rabito. Going left to right across the infield, it's Gerardo Ramirez, Anthony Seminaris, Michael Smith, Jack Spawn, and Miles Ryan behind home plate. First pitch swung on and missed by the number 2 hitter in the lineup, TJ Carter. Here's the lineup for AOS. They will bat 11 in this game. Daniel Acosta fires. Fastball outside for a ball. It's Martinez who grounded out to second base. TJ Carter, who's up right now. AC Nunez, Uliet, Acosta, Jones, Hornsby, Anderson, Kaufman. This one swung on and fouled straight back at the screen. Jacobs and Christensen. That is the lineup for AOS. Well, it was a tough week for the Buccaneers last week. Made the trip to Palm Springs and San Diego. This one's way out of the zone high for a ball from Acosta. Obviously, playing two of the top teams in Southern California in the San Diego Force and the Palm Springs Power. Never an easy mission to, try to take those two teams down. Fastball inside for another ball here. But still Acosta with a 2-strike count. But what happened in that trip was they ended up losing all 4 games over there in Palm Springs and San Diego, 2 to each team. Fastball high, and that'll be ball 4. So that'll be the first base runner of the game here for AOS as TJ Carter draws the full count walk. But what happened in those 2 games was in each series, one of the games they played very, very tough and competitive against the opponent, and in the other game they were blown out. So it was just something that was a little bit frustrating, I know, for the team in the sense that you want to be able to put it all together. And sometimes you have a level of competition that's really hard and challenging to go against. And you like to see the competitive games, but when you get blown out, it's kind of like first pitch is called a strike here to AC Nunez, and it's 0-1 to him. It's kind of like it's all for naught. You have one great performance and then one shaky performance. And I know they did have a certainly shaky performance against Palm Springs where they had 7 errors. Called a strike on the outside corner. That'll be strike 2 to Nunez, and it's 0-2 here. Well, the Bucs, they have a goal and plan for this last week of the season, or really for the last couple weeks. Their goal was to get to 10 wins. They're at 7 right now. Pickoff throw over to first, not in time by Acosta. And it's a goal that you look at and you feel like it should be attainable over this next week. Have 4 games, but think that should be able to get 3 of them. Swung on and missed, strike 3. And so that'll be the second out of the inning as Nunez goes down swinging. And here comes Garrett Uliet, the cleanup hitter in the lineup for AOS. Lacoste, of course, from University of Redlands. He is the junior right-handed pitcher for the Buccaneers. Major is communicative disorders, hometown Chino Hills, and went to Chino Hills High School. So many of these players, for both teams really, are either from Chino or Chino Hills and went to one of those two high schools. As we have another pickoff throw over to Jack Spawn at first base, not in time. Iola High School also represented well on this Buccaneer team. I believe there's about 5 guys from Iola, as well as a couple from Diamond Bar. Here's the pitch. Nice breaking pitch, called a strike on the inside corner. And it's 0-1 here to Uliet. Of course, the Buccaneers will play again tomorrow. It will be a road contest, as this one's in the dirt for a ball, and the runner T.J. Carter will make it to second base safely on the wild pitch. And tomorrow's game, if you're not aware, this is a little bit of breaking news, I guess you would say, is that the game has been moved from 6:30 to 5 at Whittier Christian. Originally it was scheduled for 6:30 at Banning High School, and now it's at 5 o'clock at Whittier Christian. So that is where the Buccaneers will be playing tomorrow on the road. Here's the pitch. Fastball bounced to the left side. Two-hopper over to Seminaris. He fields cleanly, fires across the diamond, and that is the final out here in the top of the first inning. So no score yet after 1/2 inning. And we'll head to the bottom of the first. You're listening on InlandValleyBaseball.com. And welcome back as we head to the bottom of the first inning. No score yet between the Buccaneers and AOS, as it is a scoreless tie so far. Of course, the Buccaneers just getting their first at-bat here. This is Miles Ryan, the leadoff hitter, the catcher for today. Batting second will be Michael Smith at second base. Batting third, Tanner Thibodeau, the designated hitter. Cleanup hitter will be the extra hitter in this game, Johnny Juarez. Jack Spawn, Bryce Brooks, Anthony Rabito, Gerardo Ramirez, Anthony Seminaris, and Diego Cortez. That is the lineup for the Bucs. The first pitch is a fastball, about a 57-footer in the dirt, for ball 1 by River Sofranco, the starting pitcher for AOS, wearing number 11, right-handed pitcher, going against the right-handed hitter, Miles Ryan. Ryan batting .295 on the season, .348 on base percentage. Awaiting the 1-0 offering, squaring around, and now letting it go high and away for ball 2, 2-0 the count. We talked about Miles Ryan, and really a lot of the catchers in this program for Inland Valley Baseball are similar to him in the sense that they just have a great understanding of the strike zone, and they're really contact hitters, and so far he's showing that, taking 2 balls here, and it has a 2-0 count. This one's called a strike at the knees, 2-1 here, but something that we talk about it because Ryan is the leadoff hitter most of the time as a catcher, which is kind of unique or rare, but that's part of the reason why he just has such a great understanding of the strike zone, and you see him extend counts a lot as well, which is very important in that leadoff spot. This one is swung and foul tipped in the glove of the catcher, and it's now 2-2. The reason it's so important to see a lot of pitches as a leadoff hitter is basically to get the dugout a better understanding of the entire repertoire arsenal that this right-handed pitcher, River Sofranco, has to offer. Sofranco comes set in the stretch and fires. Breaking pitch low and away, ball 3. And it's now a full count. So first hitter and first payoff pitch of the day for number 11 on the AOS team. Miles Ryan with 5 RBIs and 5 runs scored on the season, so 5 of each. And that is also his number, number 5. Swings and misses at this one, and that is strike 3. So that is the first man up and the first man down here for the Buccaneers, as Ryan couldn't catch up to the pitch. And here comes Michael Smith. Michael Smith batting .240 on the season, .333 on base percentage. Right-handed hitter. Here's the pitch. Fastball in the dirt, ball 1, 1-0 the count. Michael Smith is 5'10", 170. From Tulsa, Oklahoma. He'll be a senior next season at Memorial High School. Here's the pitch. This one's high and away, but it's called the strike, as I'm sure Michael Smith didn't really like that call, as he kind of backed up from the batter's box and now steps back in, so it's 1-1. Third baseman playing on the infield grass basically for the first two hitters. Slow off-speed pitch, swung on and hit into center field. Center fielder going about 3 feet to his right makes the grab for the routine out, and that'll be the second out here. So Ryan goes down swinging, and Michael Smith flies out to center. And here comes Tanner Thibodeau, the big left-handed hitter for the Buccaneers, who had a 2-run home run against the San Diego Force on Friday. Here's the pitch. Strike one is called, and it's 0-1 here to Tanner. Tanner, 6'1", 170. Plays for Kansas City Community College, where he'll be a sophomore next season, as we have a little bit of a wind gust, which is very rare here at Pomona. The 0-1. This is low and away. Ball one. 1-1 the count here to Tanner. Well, Tanner is a guy who showed a lot of promise right at the beginning of the season as somebody that you figured would be in this spot around the 3-4-5 spot all season long. Especially that first day, the first doubleheader against the Pirates. Looked like he was going to swing a very good bat, but he's really struggled for the most part this season as this off-speed pitch misses high and away. Of course, he is working his way back from injury, is number 30, as he adjusts his gloves. But we talked about him struggling a bit, 188 on the season. Here's the pitch. Swung and foul down the third base line past Kevin Bowler, the manager of the Inland Valley Buccaneers. As we mentioned, the Buccaneers have their goals set to come away with 3 wins this week if they can and finish the season with 10. Play here today, and this one misses low for a ball to Thibodeau. And they play again tomorrow. We mentioned that at the top of the broadcast. The game has actually been moved to a 5 o'clock game at Whittier Christian tomorrow against the East LA Dodgers. And then they have a doubleheader on Saturday against the High Desert Heat in league play, and that will be the final 2 games of the season. Tanner Thibodeau draws the walk as this pitch misses low for ball 4. So that'll be the first base runner of the game for the Buccaneers as the cleanup hitter Johnny Juarez steps up to the plate. Johnny Juarez was seeing it very well maybe about a week or 2 ago, and he raised his batting average all the way higher than 300. But since then has kind of fallen a bit, dropped off a little bit, and has seen his batting average now fall down to 246. Does have 7 runs scored and 6 RBI. Here's the pitch. Slow off-speed pitch. Misses low for ball 1. 1-0 the count. Well, if the Buccaneers start getting a few more guys on base, and obviously normally when you have 2 outs on you, you don't necessarily want to try to risk getting thrown out at second, but you might think about trying to steal on this pitcher because he's very slow in those off-speed pitches, and they're off with the pitch, and this will be an easy steal head first for Tanner Thibodeau, as there's really no play for the catcher, who made a good job just to throw it down to second base off his knees. But Tanner Thibodeau steals second base, and we were talking about his speed a few games back and how he basically challenged anybody on the team to a foot race and said he would win, which was surprising because you see him and he's 6'1", but he's really lanky, as this one misses high and in for ball here to Juarez. But the Buccaneers do try stealing with the 2 outs, and they are successful and now have a man in scoring position for the first time in the game, and your cleanup hitter at bat. So that is what you want to do right here and try to manufacture a run and take a 1-0 lead. Squaring around is Juarez, and it's called a strike anyways as he brought his bat back and didn't try to bunt at it. Tanner Thibodeau was off a long way at second base, probably about a third of the way towards third, but obviously made his way back to second. And he's off with the pitch. This one misses outside, and he's still standing up. Wow. We were talking about the slow delivery by the pitcher, and so that is now 2 stolen bases for Thibodeau, who, I mean, he literally stayed up on his feet to steal third base. You do not see that too often. I mean, you don't even see that too often to steal second base. Strike 2 is called at the plate, so Juarez is now going to have to protect the plate, but the pitch is low and away in the dirt for ball 4, so Juarez draws the walk here. And there are now runners on the corners with 2 outs here in the bottom of the first inning. Jack Spahn steps up to the dish. Jack Spahn hitting .200 on the season, 8 RBIs, 7 runs. He had a big grand slam over the left field wall against the Inland Valley Pirates in a game where the Bucs beat the Pirates 11-2. This one misses low. Good eye right there by number 23, and it's a 1-0 here. So already here in the first inning, the Buccaneers hoping to get a 2-out rally. First 2 hitters in the inning were retired. That was Miles Ryan, who struck out, and Michael Smith, who flew out to center field. But then Tanner Thibodeau and Johnny Juarez both drawing walks. Here's the 1-0. This one missed. Oh, this one is called a strike, and it's 1-1. And I can tell you, it looks like the zone is pretty big for this umpire, as it's 1-1 here now to Jack Spahn. Spahn shaking his head a little bit and now digs back in. So Franco comes set, the runner's off with the pitch, and this one's lined into right field, straight at the right fielder who makes the catch, running about 5-10 feet to his left. It was hit very hard and very well by Spahn, but a nice play out in right field to retire the side here in the bottom of the first inning. So the Buccaneers threaten. They have a man on third and first with 2 outs, but can't come through there, as it remains a scoreless tie at the end of 1 inning. You're listening on InlandValleyBaseball.com. Costa comes out for his second inning of work and fires an off-speed pitch low and away for ball 1, 1-0 the count. Nathaniel Acosta, 24 innings pitched on the season, 2-2 record. Late kick, and here's the pitch. Swung on and missed, 1-1 the count. In those 24 innings, he has 22 strikeouts, so nearly a strikeout per inning pitched for number 6 on the Buccaneers. Working out of the windup, here's the pitch. Swung and foul tipped into the glove of Miles Ryan, and that'll be strike 2, 1-2 the count. Here's the 1-2. Swung and lined in left field, but foul and out of play. Diego Cortez was in hot pursuit for a moment there, but decided to pull up pretty soon and thereafter, after determining that it wasn't going to even be in the field of play. So we'll do it again. Another 1-2 to come. Ryan setting up on the outside corner. It's a fastball called strike 3. And so down goes Acosta. So Acosta strikes out Acosta looking. And that is the second strikeout in an inning and a third here for Nathaniel. As we mentioned just recently, the fact that he had 22 strikeouts in 24 innings. So still holding true with that right now as he gets a strikeout in each inning so far. Fastball called a ball. 1-0 the count here to Andy Jones. Andy Jones is a left-handed hitter. Costa's ERA 5.25 and whip 1.71. Strike at the knees, 1-1 the count here. Well, this is the last week of the season for the Summer Collegiate Baseball regular season, as this is an off-speed pitch that misses high and away, 2-1 the count. So the Buccaneers wrapping it up with these final 4 games this week, as this one misses low and inside for ball 3, 3-1 the count. And then you look at the Pirates, and the Pirates will play a few games. Actually, they'll have a game tomorrow on our air at 5 o'clock against the San Diego Force. 5-pitch walk drawn by Andy Jones, as this fastball misses low. And so that'll be the second base runner of the game for AOS, both on walks, which Acosta really, he hasn't struggled that much in terms of accuracy this season. He has 10 walks, but in 24 innings, that's not a terrible number. Here comes Kevin Hornsby as Andy Jones takes his lead off, and once again Acosta firing in first, trying to keep the base runner on his toes. He did that a bunch back in the first inning when TJ Carter reached base. Off-speed pitch called a strike on the inside corner, and it's 0-1 here to Hornsby. And we were mentioning, just to kind of finish that story, that the Pirates do have a game tomorrow that'll be live on our air against the Force, but this will be their final week of the regular season too, obviously. Snap throw down to first, not in time. The ball was swung on and missed for strike 2. It's now 0-2 here. And so obviously it's still the final week of the regular season, but the Pirates have another week to come, as they will be in the playoffs for the SCCBL. Don't know what the seeding will be yet. Still could be the number 1 seed, still could be the number 3 seed. Fastball called, strike 3 on the outside corner, and that's the second one that goes down looking here against Nathaniel in the second inning. So sandwiched in between 2 strikeouts is the 1 walk, a 5-pitch walk to Andy Jones, who is on first base right now. And here comes the left-handed hitter John Anderson for AOS. Costa checking the runner at first. Comes set and fires. Breaking pitch called a strike on the outside, and it's 0-1 here to Anderson. If you're interested, we were talking about how the Pirates scenario is that they could be the number 1 seed or they could be even the number 3 seed. Costa taking his time, firing. Fastball swung and missed, strike 2. Well, if they win their final 2 games and the Power loses one of their final 2, that is how the Pirates would be the number 1 seed. If San Diego loses any game or the Pirates win any game, they would be the number 2 seed. And if San Diego wins the rest of their games and the Pirates lose the rest, that's how the Pirates would be the number 3. This one misses outside. Throw down to second is in time. Miles Ryan guns out the base runner, and that will be the final out of the inning. So Miles Ryan showing off that cannon behind home plate. As we mentioned, very similar to many of the catchers you see out here in the Inland Valley Baseball Association, whether it be the Buccaneers or Pirates. Very, very solid behind that plate defensively. And at the end of 1.5 innings, it remains a scoreless tie here at Cal Poly Pomona between the Bucs and AOS. We'll head to the bottom of the second when we return. To the bottom of 2 we go in a scoreless tie. Buccaneers and AOS doing battle. Here comes Bryce Brooks to lead things off in the second inning. First pitch to him. Swung on, and it's a bouncer to the left side. 2 hoppers. Shortstop fields deep in the hole. Fires in time to retire Bryce Brooks. So 1 pitch and 1 out here in the second inning for the Buccaneers. And here comes Anthony Rabito. Rabito, the right fielder, and then Gerardo Ramirez due up after him. And should anybody reach base, Anthony Seminaris. You look at Gerardo Ramirez, who's getting a chance to play third base and hit today, but certainly has been pretty much the ace of the staff pitching-wise. And figure to see him in the All-Star game in Palm Springs next Saturday. First pitch misses low and away for ball 1. 1-0 the count here to Anthony Rabito. Rabito hitting .228 on the season, 5 RBIs and 4 runs scored. Here's the pitch, and this one's called a strike. Anthony Rabito, 6'0", 195, headed to Orange Coast College, where he will be a freshman next season. Said a lot of the guys in the dugout like to refer to him as Hamilton because he wears number 32 and kind of looks like Josh. The only difference is he's a right-handed hitter as opposed to a lefty. Squares this one up and lines it down the right field line, slicing foul. As Anthony Rabito rounds first and now will jog back to home plate. So it's just a long strike here for River Sofranco, the AOS right-handed pitcher. Meanwhile, for Rabito, you feel like you've hit the ball hard and well, just can't put it, where the fielders aren't. And that's half the battle, obviously, because he's hit a lot of line drives this year, and they always seem to go right to where the fielder is. In this case, though, of course, he hit it foul, so he needs to straighten it out a bit. Here's the pitch. Low and away for a ball. I mentioned this is the second time these two teams are playing, second and final time. First time is a 12-5 game. The Buccaneers won. The Buccaneers scoring 12 unanswered runs in that game after trailing 5-0. Here's the pitch. Fastball swung and bounced up the middle over towards the shortstop. Looked like it took him a little bit of time to get it out of the glove, but he still makes the out at first base. And down goes Rabito. So 2 groundouts to the shortstop here in the second inning. And they're now 2 away in Gerardo Ramirez at the plate. Ramirez is hitting 156, 6 RBIs, 3 runs on the season. Right-handed hitter from Diamond Bar High School. Digging in and awaiting his first pitch here from River Sofranco. Slow off-speed pitch, high and away. Ball 1. 1-0 the count to the 5'10", 210-pound right-handed hitter. So Franco works out of the stretch and fires. Fastball low and away. Ball 2, 2-0 the count. Just mentioning that because we mentioned it in the first inning, but a lot of guys, when there's nobody on base, will work out of the windup. But most guys that you see normally working out of the stretch, they just feel more comfortable that way when nobody's on base. Or they're typically relievers. This one swung on and lifted into deep left field. Going back on it is the left fielder trying to make a nice catch, and he makes a nice backhanded grab right in front of the wall, about 2 feet away from the fence, as the ball continued to carry out there in left field. At first glance, I thought it looked like it might be really like a routine fly ball, but the left fielder just kept going back and makes the catch. Great job by him. And so down goes Ramirez, and that'll be the side retired in order here in the second inning for the Bucs. It remains a scoreless tie here at Cal Poly Pomona. You're listening on InlandValleyBaseball.com. To the top of 3 we go in a scoreless tie. Bucs and AOS doing battle here at Cal Poly Pomona. First pitch is a breaking pitch, called a strike. 0-1 the count here to John Anderson. It'll be Anderson, Kaufman, and Jacobs in the lineup here for AOS. Of course, they are batting 11, which you can do in a non-league game. Another breaking pitch, called strike 2. 0-2 the count. And what Nathaniel Acosta has done well so far is, for the most part, get ahead of the hitters. Always makes you much more challenging to face when you're ahead in the count. Fastball high and away, ball 1, 1-2 the count. Just trying to maybe make the hitter go fishing after it and try to, swing at something out of the zone. Here's the 1-2. Fastball low, ball 2, 2-2 the count. Nathaniel Acosta, we mentioned, of course, from the University of Redlands. Plays in the SCIAC Conference, which is a really good D3 conference in the area. Big breaking ball, called strike 3. And so that is now the 4th strikeout of the game so far for Nathaniel Acosta. 2 strikeouts in a row. Well, actually, there was the caught stealing, but there were 3 of the last 4 outs are strikeouts, and all 3 of them were looking. Play kick, and here's the pitch. Called a ball. Must have missed a little bit low. And it's 1-0 here to Jacob Kaufman. Here's the pitch from Acosta. This one is lifted, towering fly ball to deep center field. Bryce Brooks was initially going to his left and now to his right and misses it. That'll be an error. And heading into third is Kaufman. The cut is made to Seminares, and Seminares throws it past the third baseman Gerardo Ramirez, but Acosta backing it up, picks it up and ensures that the runner doesn't come home to score. So it'll be a 3-base error. And Bryce Brooks, not typically a center fielder, or not really typically an outfielder in general, typically playing shortstop and third. As we mentioned, he opened up to his left side and kind of misjudged it, but then turned back around at a 180-degree angle to his right and actually got there in time but couldn't handle it. Here's the pitch. Breaking pitch in the dirt, ball 1. 1-0 the count here to Josh Jacobs. So on the one hand, you had AOS making a great play out in left field. And now you have the Buccaneers making a 3-base error in center. Called a strike, 1-1 the count here to Josh Jacobs. Actually, Nathaniel Acosta doing a really good job to back that up, in the sense that if he wasn't there, swung on and missed, strike 2. If he wasn't there at that backstop right in front of the third base dugout, a run would have scored on just one error. Time called for by the AOS coach, as the hitter, Jacobs, will run down the third baseline and discuss exactly what they want to do on this next pitch. For Acosta, you're thinking maybe what you want to come with is some kind of fastball up and out of the zone. Try to catch the hitter chasing, because you've thrown a few breaking pitches in a row that's really confused them. Or maybe you just want to go back with another breaking pitch. This is a fastball swung and fouled straight back at the screen towards the third base dugout. think if you want it to be a purpose pitch is what you want. So I think you would have liked to have had that pitch a little bit higher. Setting up on the outside corners, Ryan swung on and missed, strike 3. So that is the second strikeout of the inning for Nathaniel Acosta, who now ups his total to 5 for the day. The go-ahead run still standing 90 feet away from scoring with 2 outs here in the top of the third inning. That is Jacob Kaufman, who hit the ball in the center field, and it was an error. This is the last hitter in the lineup, Brian Christensen. He takes strike 1, and it's 0-1 here to Brian. So it'll be Christensen, and then if he can get on base, back to the top of the lineup, and Daniel Martinez. Costa comes set and fires fastball overthrown. A nice block by Miles Ryan to ensure that the runner didn't come in and score the first run of the game, and it's 1-1 here. Acosta versus Christensen. Acosta doing very well so far in the first 3 innings. Here's the pitch. Swung and fouled straight back at the screen, pretty much directly over my head where I am set up. So it'll be another 2-strike count for Nathaniel Acosta, who we mentioned, when he gets ahead of the hitter, that is when he is good. When he falls behind, that's when he kind of loses it a bit. And this fastball misses high and away for ball 2, 2-2 the count. Let's see what Nathaniel dials up right here. Does he go back to trying to maybe go after that breaking pitch, which has been very hard for AOS to go against? No, this is a fastball that he blows by the hitter for strike 3. So Nathaniel Acosta strikes out the side, and that is his 6th strikeout in just 3 innings on the day. And it remains a scoreless tie at the end of 2.5 innings here from Cal Poly Pomona. You're listening on InlandValleyBaseball.com. And welcome back as we head to the bottom of the 3rd inning. Still no score yet between the Buccaneers and AOS, as we'll have Anthony Seminaris and then Diego Cortez and Miles Ryan due up in this inning for Inland Valley. Seminaris hitting .235 on the season, but the .409 on-base percentage is what kind of jumps out as this one misses low and away for ball 1, 1-0 the count. That .409 base percentage, you think about the fact that reaching base pretty much 4 out of every 10 times, a little bit more than that, and that's why you typically see him as a leadoff type of hitter, but usually kind of towards the end of the lineup because he's really good as being an extension of a leadoff hitter, and this one misses low and away, ball 2 to number 2. So he can be a rally starter when you typically seem to find your way on base almost 4 out of every 10 times. I mean, that's what you want out of that spot in the lineup. This one is high and tight over the head of Seminaris for ball 3. 3-0 the count. 5'10", 175 is Anthony. He'll be at Fullerton College for his redshirt freshman season next year. Hometown, Chino Hills, and one of the aforementioned 5 players on this roster from Iola High School. 4-pitch walk drawn, and nothing really even near the zone for Seminaris to even think about swinging at. So that is the first base runner here in the 3rd inning. Just on cue, talking about Seminaris' impressive on-base percentage. He draws the walk, and here comes Diego Cortez. Diego Cortez, one of 3 University of Laverne players in the Inland Valley Baseball Association. The only one on the Buccaneers. The other 2 are on the Pirates, squaring around in a sacrifice situation, and now bringing the bat back is Cortez as the pitch misses high and away. And now we're going to have a conference here with coach and pitcher. Doesn't look like there's anybody warming up in the bullpen, though. There's no movement in the pen, so unless somebody warmed up in the last inning, I feel like Rivers Sofranco will stay in here. First baseman and third baseman are now joining the catcher and the coach, with River on the hill, as the hitter, Diego Cortez, walks over to third base and discusses strategy with Kevin Bowler. Kevin Bowler hands on hip, pointing out maybe some of the open spots in the field that he sees. As we were mentioning, it could be a sacrifice bunt situation, though, especially with Diego showing bunt on the first pitch that he saw. First pitch was a ball away. But obviously the reason it's tailor-made for a sacrifice bunt is because you have no outs so far. And you get your first man on base, scoreless game. Here's the 1-0, squaring around again. The runner's off. The pitch is high. The throw down to second is in time. They got Seminaris, who's sliding head first. And Kevin Bowler doesn't look like he's happy with Seminaris, who now heads back to the dugout after getting caught stealing. So either Seminaris missed the sign or Seminaris decided to steal on his own. As Kevin Bowler now kind of hunches his head over. Here's the pitch. Swung on and foul tipped by Cortez. And it's 2-1 here to number 2-1. Cortez, we mentioned, was the last hitter in the lineup, and then back to the top of the lineup in Miles Ryan. But obviously that's really frustrating. You never want to make the first out or the last out. Well, yeah, you know, you don't want to make any out, really getting caught stealing, but especially the first out or the last out, because that's where you could have a big inning end right there. Swung on a miss, strike two. You get your leadoff man on base, and you feel like you kind of wasted it. Late kick, and here's the pitch. Swung on and bounced foul down the first base line over towards Daniel Diaz. The pitcher, or one of the pitchers on the Buccaneers, and obviously the first base coach right now. Good battle right here between pitcher and hitter. This one misses away, ball three, and it's a full count. So Diego Cortez seen a lot of pitches in this at bat. And now we'll see a payoff pitch. Seminaris led the inning off with a walk and then was caught stealing. Here's the pitch, and this one's in the dirt, nowhere near the zone. So second straight walk here for Safranco. Of course, Seminaris was thrown out at second, which is why he is no longer on base. And now the Buccaneers go back to the top of the lineup, and Miles Ryan, he's 0 for 1 with a strikeout. And then Michael Smith. Miles Ryan, 5'11", 170, plays for Citrus College. Not too far from here, maybe about 10 miles or so. So Franco checks the runner at first, comes set, and fires. Called strike one on the outside corner, 0-1 the count to Ryan. So Cortez is on first base, reached on a walk. And there is one out here in the bottom of the third inning. No score yet between the Buccaneers and AOS. Pick-off throw over to first. Diego Cortez getting dirty, but there was really no intention for Safranco to kind of throw him out there because he kind of soft-tossed it back to the first base. Here's the pitch. The runner's off. That's Diego Cortez. Swung on and missed at the plate. And Diego Cortez steals second base safely, as second base actually becomes dislodged as he was sliding foot first and slid in pretty hard. So this time, the Buccaneers do get a stolen bag and a runner in scoring position. It's the second time of the day the Bucs have had a runner in scoring position. The only other guy to do that was Tanner Thibodeau, who drew a walk in the first inning and then stole second and third base. In fact, if you recall, he actually stole third base standing up. Here's the pitch. Swung and lifted in the left field line. Drive down the left field line. Will it stay fair? Oh, it just goes foul. That would have definitely been an extra base hit if that could have landed in fair territory. But it'll just be a long strike for Miles Ryan, and the second strike at that of the at-bat. So now he's going to have to protect the plate. With one out in the bottom of the third inning, still no score. Runner in scoring position at second base is Diego Cortez, the University of Laverne Leopard. So Franco nods his head in approval as we're going to have a pickoff throw over to second base, and he overshoots it. And Cortez looks like he wasn't necessarily paying attention because feel like he should have been able to advance to third on that throw that went into center field. Center fielder obviously did a good job of charging in and backing up the play because he was in there very quickly, but still Cortez really just didn't recognize the fact that the ball overshot the second baseman. Lake Aiken, here's the pitch. Fastball overthrown in the dirt for a ball. Ryan takes a look down at third base and Kevin Bowler and now steps back into the batter's box. Still with a 2-strike count, of course. Diego Cortez still on second. Miles Ryan would love nothing more than to trade places with number 21. That would be an RBI double, and he lines this one straight up the middle, right back from where it came from. Rounding third is Diego Cortez, and he will come home to score, and it's 1-0 Buccaneers on an RBI single by Miles Ryan. So Miles Ryan coming through, and we were talking about the fact that Miles Ryan, as of late, was one of the guys who really stepped it up for the Buccaneers over the past couple weeks of the season and has emerged as one of their leading hitters. He is now 1 for 2 and has that RBI single in the center field. Here is Michael Smith. He's 0 for 1, flew out to the center fielder back in the first inning. Pick-off throw over to first, not in time. Tanner Thibodeau is on deck as the Buccaneers are hoping to maybe have a big inning here. The only guy that was an out in this inning was Seminaris, who actually drew a walk and then was caught stealing. This one's low and away. Ball 1 to Michael Smith, the youngest of 5 siblings. His older 4 siblings all playing collegiately in a sport. 2 of them in baseball. That was his 2 older brothers. And then his 2 older sisters playing soccer. So Michael hoping to be the 5th one in line to play at the next level. He'll still be a senior next year in high school. But you can't say enough about the experience he's gained out here in Southern California this summer. Seeing, I would assume, a lot better pitching than he would see out there in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Takes this one on the outside corner for strike. Also, of course, enjoying the weather here in Southern California as opposed to the muggy conditions in Oklahoma. Pick-off throw over to first. Another guy who's been enjoying these wet weather conditions in Southern California is the man on deck, Tanner Thibodeau, who said he absolutely loves it here. He's from Nebraska. Runners off with the pitch. This one misses low for a ball. Throw down to second, not in time. Miles Ryan slides safely foot first into second base for another stolen bag here for the Buccaneers. So the Buccaneers with 4 stolen bases already here in the 3rd inning. Tanner Thibodeau had 2 of them. Diego Cortez having 1, and now Miles Ryan with 1. Here's the 1-strike pitch. This one's chopped down the third base line. A high 1-hopper over to the third baseman who fires. Nice dig made at first to retire Michael Smith. So that'll be the second out here in the bottom of the 3rd inning. 1 run in. 1 run was on a single by Miles Ryan that Diego Cortez scored. Tanner Thibodeau, no official at bat yet today because he drew a walk in his first plate appearance. And as we mentioned, a couple steals. We also mentioned while he was on deck from Nebraska. One of the few guys on this team, other than he and Smith, that come from or reside in places other than Southern California. First pitch to him is high and away. Ball 1, 1-0 the count. For Thibodeau, the reason he's out here, well, first of all, he's staying with his grandparents out in Hemet. Here's the 1-0. Fastball misses away. Ball 2, 2-0. The reason he's here is because he's rehabbing a wrist injury and had specific tutelage that he wanted to go under and basically learn under and help rehab him here in Southern California, which would not have been readily available for in Nebraska. High and away, nowhere near the zone. And it's 3-0 to number 3-0, I believe for the 2nd time in the game. He's seen a 3-0 count. to see if Thibodeau gets the green light, feeling good about himself, especially after hitting a home run on Friday. And fastball in the dirt, not even near Thibodeau. And so that'll be a 4-pitch walk drawn. The second walk of the day for Tanner. And here comes Johnny Juarez. Johnny Juarez, just like Thibodeau, drew a walk in his first plate appearance, so no official at-bat yet here today. You'd like to maybe get an official at-bat here in the form of an RBI single. Standing on second base is Miles Ryan, who singled, and this is going to be a high towering fly ball to deep center field. Center fielder now camping underneath it, about 10 to 15 feet away from the center field wall, and makes the catch for the final out of the inning. Well, the Bucs do get one run on one hit and a couple of walks, and it's now 1-0 at the end of 3. You're listening on InlandValleyBaseball.com. To the top of 4 we go. 1-0 the score. Buccaneers on top of AOS. Here's the first pitch from Acosta, and it's called a strike at the knees. 0-1 the count here to Daniel Martinez, the leadoff hitter for AOS. He's 0 for 1 on the day. Hit a ground ball out to Michael Smith in his first at-bat in the first inning. This pitch is a breaking pitch that misses low. Ball 1. 1-1 the count. Well, Nathaniel Acosta, he has been going very, very strong for the Buccaneers, to say the least, in 3 innings. As this one misses high for a ball, and it's 2-1. 6 strikeouts in 3 innings. Only 3 base runners allowed. Fastball low, ball 3, 3-1 the count. 3 base runners reached, 2 of them reaching on walks, and 1 on an error. Here is the 3-1. Fastball squared up and lined in left field, and that'll be the first base hit of the day for AOS. So Daniel Martinez leading things off with that single left field. And here comes T.J. Carter. T.J. Carter walked in his first plate appearance and went as far as second base on a wild pitch. That is as far as any AOS player has gone. Foul tipped into the glove of Ryan, and it's 0-1. Carter kind of smiling and nodding his head in approval of something. Maybe the fact that Ryan made the catch because he was looking at Miles. Here's the 0-1. Called strike 2. Another snap throw down to first, not in time. So Miles Ryan being pretty aggressive behind home plate as a catcher. So far, we've seen a few snap throws down to first base. Costa now. Here's the 0-2. He'll go to first, and he got him. A pickoff move by Acosta that catches the runner napping, and Daniel Martinez is picked off by Nathaniel. And really, Acosta has been concerned a lot with the pickoff throws, but that was the first one where he really had a purpose. He made a great move. This one is bounced foul down the third base line by T.J. Carter. Did a good job of fighting off that pitch and staying alive with a 2-strike count. Carter is the number 2 hitter in the lineup, and then it's A.C. Nunez. Ryan sets up on the outside, but the pitch actually comes inside and is swung on and fouled down the first base line. You have Kevin Smith here now, which is the pitching coach for the Buccaneers. He was a late arrival today. I didn't see him there at the beginning of the game, but he's sitting now in his normal spot at the end of the first base dugout. Here's the pitch. Swung on and missed. Strike 3, and that is the 7th strikeout of the game so far for Nathaniel Acosta. So Acosta with a 1 in the first, a couple in the second, struck out the side in the third, and now 1 here in the fourth. So that's how you get that 7 tally in 3 2/3 innings pitched so far. Here's the pitch. Swung and lifted foul down the right field line and out of play. And so that is strike 1, 0-1 the count here to A.C. Nunez, who's 0 for 1 and was one of the 7 strikeout victims in this game. Here's the pitch. Swung on and missed, strike 2. And this is as good as Nathaniel Acosta has looked so far this season. Acosta really struggling out in Palm Springs in his last outing. Couldn't even finish an inning. And here today, this one misses low for ball 1, 1-2 the count. And here today, he's just been cruising. 3 2/3, 7 strikeouts, no runs yet. This one misses away for ball. Buccaneers, this is their final home game of the season. We're talking about this is the last week in the season. This is the final home game. Fastball lined into left field, trying to make a leaping catch with Seminaris, but it got over his glove. And so that'll be the second hit of the inning and second hit overall in the game as Nunez reaches base. And here comes Garrett Ouliet, who's 0 for 1 with the ground out to the shortstop Seminaris. But yes, this is the last home game of the season for the Buccaneers. Mentioned that they have the road game tomorrow, which was moved to 5 o'clock at Whittier Christian. And then the final 2 league games of the season on Saturday. Those games also have been moved. The place is the same. Ground ball, will it stay in fair territory? Yes. Ryan will field it cleanly and throw to first to record the out of Garrett Ouliet, 2-3 if you're scoring at home. So that'll do it for the top of the 4th inning. But just to complete what I was about to say, the game will still be at Victor Valley College against the Heat on Saturday, but it's been moved from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So 4 hours later. And so at the end of 3.5 innings of play, it remains 1-0 Bucks on top of AOS. You're listening on InlandValleyBaseball.com. To the bottom of 4 we go. 1-0 the score. Buccaneers on top of AOS. Of course, I'm Dave Sobera on the play-by-play. Thanks so much for joining us here for this non-league game, Buccaneers versus AOS. And here comes Jack Spahn, the number 5 hitter in the lineup. He's 0 for 1. Flew out to right field back in the first inning, and really I should say lined out to right field because he struck it very hard down the right field line. Here's the pitch. Slow off-speed pitch called to strike on the outside corner, and it's 0-1 here. Then due up in the inning will be Bryce Brooks and Anthony Rabito. Here's the 0-1. Swung and lifted into left center field. Left fielder traveling to his left and making the catch for the first out here in the inning. So a fly ball out to right field by Spahn in his first at-bat. Now a fly ball out to left field in his second at-bat. And here comes Bryce Brooks. Brooks is 0 for 1, grounded out to the shortstop in his previous at-bat. Of course, Brooks is one of only 2 members of the Buccaneers who is sort of, I guess you could say, a returning player in the sense that they actually played for the Pirates last year. So a returning player to the Inland Valley Baseball Association, as this one misses high and inside, ball 1 to Bryce Brooks, the 6'3", 180-pound right-handed hitter. Played for Rio Hondo this past season as a sophomore. Called a strike on the outside corner, and it's 1-1. Well, we talk about it so often in the sense that it really has a great glove, and that was proven by the fact that he won a Gold Glove at the JC level at Rio Hondo, but also had a really good season with the stick. This one misses away, 2-1 the count. At Rio Hondo, he hit .287 and had 33 hits in 35 games, so nearly a hit every single game he went out there on average. Here's the 2-1, and this one misses low, and it's 3-1. Got the chance to talk to him earlier in the season, and we've mentioned this before, but he is the nephew of Mark Kotze, and he said that it was his uncle who helped him out a little bit with hitting. Said that's what they always talk about. He said he was struggling at the end of his freshman year. It's something that he talked about with him. Helped him and made him hit well in that sophomore year. He takes alone away, ball 4. That is a 5-pitch walk drawn by Bryce Brooks. And here comes Anthony Rabito. Buccaneers scoring their 1 run in the last inning. That would be the 3rd inning. It was Diego Cortez who drew the walk, stole second base, and then scored. on the RBI single up the middle by Miles Ryan. Pickoff throw to first, not in time, as Bryce throws his batting gloves over towards the first base dugout. Rabito 0 for 1, grounded out to the shortstop. Here is the first pitch to him. He swings at this one and lifts it in the infield. The infield fly rule is applied, and the catch is made by the second baseman for the second out of the inning. I believe that's what the umpire was saying on that play. Here comes Gerardo Ramirez. Gerardo Ramirez 0 for 1 with the fly ball to left field that the left fielder made an exceptional play on. Pretty much hit it right down the line, about maybe 3-5 feet away from the fence. Otherwise, that could have been an RBI extra base hit for Ramirez, as there's a pickoff throw over to first. Gets Brooks a little bit dirty, sliding head first back into the bag. We were talking about the fact that here's the pitch and the runner's off. This one swung on and lifted into deep left center field. Another fly ball out to left field, but another catch made by the left fielder. So Ramirez with 2 long outs here, and he falls to 0 for 2 on the day. We'll head to the top of the 5th inning in a 1-0 game. Bucs leading AOS. You're listening on InlandValleyBaseball.com. And welcome back as we head to the top of the 5th inning. 1-0 the score. Buccaneers leading AOS. And here comes the number 5 hitter in the lineup, Nick Acosta. He's 0 for 1, struck out looking. So it's Acosta versus Acosta for the second time, as this one's called a strike and it's 0-1. Slow off-speed pitch on the inside corner. Nathaniel Acosta has had a very, very strong outing so far. Fastball misses for ball 1, 1-1 the count. In his 4 innings pitched, 7 strikeouts, only 2 hits, and no runs, of course. Off-speed pitch called a strike on the outside corner, 1-2 the count. And we mentioned it earlier in the game, but when he gets ahead of a hitter, he's very tough to face. Here's the 1-2. Called strike 3 on the inside corner. That is strikeout number 8 for Nathaniel Acosta. And it's almost like the hitters are just overmatched by number 6, who has a grin on his face right now after that 8th strikeout. Here's the pitch. Fastball low for ball 1. 1-0 the count here to Andy Jones. Jones drew a walk in his first plate appearance and then was caught stealing on a nice throw by Miles Ryan down the second base. Foul ball and out of play behind home plate. 1-1 the count. Of course, it was a nice ball if he threw the guy out, but I mean, that was just a rocket thrown by number 5. Here's the 1-1 off-speed pitch. Ooh, just misses, and it's 2-1. Kind of had the hitter off balance on that last pitch. Ground ball, right side foul, 2-2 the count. Here's the 2-2 from Nathaniel Acosta, swung on and fouled straight back at the screen. So we'll do it again. Another 2-2 to come. It'll be the 6th pitch of the at-bat for number 6, Nathaniel Acosta, going against the left-handed hitter Andy Jones, as Tanner Thibodeau will give the home plate umpire a new baseball that he throws immediately over towards Acosta. See if Acosta gets the correct grip or the right grip for this one. Ooh, big breaking pitch that just misses for ball 3. 3-2 the count, full count. So Andy Jones going deep in a count again after walking his previous at-bat. Swings at this one and hits a towering fly ball in the infield. Charging in and making the call is Michael Smith, and he will make that catch for the second out of the inning. Smith almost making like a fair catch type of call if you watch football, only doing it with both arms. And here is the next hitter in the lineup, Kevin Hornsby, 0 for 1, struck out looking. So one of 8 strikeout victims of Acosta in this game, and just 4 2/3 innings pitched. Lines this one to the right side, one hopper over to Spahn, and he catches it and steps on the bag for the 3 unassisted putout. And so that'll do it for the top of the 5th inning. We are halfway through this baseball game. 1-0 the score, Buccaneers leading. You're listening on InlandValleyBaseball.com. We'll head to the bottom of the 5th inning, 1-0 the score, Buccaneers leading over AOS. It'll be Anthony Seminaris, Diego Cortez, and Miles Ryan due up in this inning. Should anybody reach, then we'll have Michael Smith. So the bottom of the lineup, first pitch swung on, 3 chopper over towards the shortstop, and Seminaris is thrown out. And so 1 pitch and 1 out as Seminaris falls to 0 for 1 on the day. I think he was just happy that he saw a pitch near the zone. If you recall his first plate appearance, there was nothing anywhere near the zone, whether it be over his head or way low and away, bouncing about 3 feet in front of the plate. So he saw a pitch that he liked and tried to drive it, but just couldn't hit it through the hole on the left side. Diego Cortez taking all the way, and that is strike 1. 0-1 the count here to Cortez, who scored the only run of the game. He walked in his first plate appearance. Slow off-speed pitch, called the ball, and it's 1-1. Then he stole second base and came home on the RBI base hit by Miles Ryan. That was in the 3rd inning. Here's the pitch, swung on and missed, strike 2, 1-2 the count. Cortez is the number 10 hitter in the lineup, as we mentioned, so back to the top of the lineup after this. Here's the pitch, overthrown for ball 2, 2-2 the count. When I say it's overthrown, it literally looks like he released it a bit too late. And when you do something like that, it goes directly into the dirt. Pitcher is shaking off his signals a couple times. Still didn't like what he saw and then stepped off the mound. Still taking a lot of time. And here is the 2-2 finally. Swung on and missed. So whatever pitch he was waiting for the catcher to put down, it was the right pitch for him. So Cortez goes down swinging. Now back to Miles Ryan. Ryan 1 for 2. Had the RBI single in the 3rd. And stole second base. Also struck out in the 1st inning. Looks like we will have Rudy Casares coming in for Michael Smith. He is now on deck. Here's the pitch. Slow off-speed pitch. Called to strike at the knees. There's really nothing Miles Ryan could have done with that last pitch. And it's 0-1 to him. Well, we were talking a little bit about all-star selections when Gerardo Ramirez was hitting. Called strike 2 on the inside corner. Of course, if Gerardo Ramirez makes it, it'll be for pitching. But when you look at the Buccaneers, you have to think that he's in the mix, and also Kevin Riley would be in the mix, and maybe Miles Ryan. Here's the pitch. Ooh, another breaking pitch. Had a big bite, but just misses, and it's 1-2. The Buccaneers will definitely get 2 players in the All-Star game, 1 pitcher and 1 hitter. This one swung and lined into deep left field, but foul. Might have even made it over the fence there, but in foul territory, about 10-15 feet away from the foul line. That's the second one that he is driven deep down that left field line, but foul. Here's the pitch. Oh, and this one hits off the bill of the helmet, as Ryan will toss his bat down the first base line and head over to first base. It was an off-speed pitch that got away from the pitcher. So Ryan reaching base for the 2nd time. This time he was hit by a pitch. There's only one inning where the Buccaneers didn't have one guy reach, and that was the 2nd inning. Otherwise, there's been at least one Buccaneer on base every single inning. This is Rudy Casares. As we mentioned, he was on deck for Michael Smith, so Casares stepping in for his first at-bat. Called strike 1 to him. Rudy is 5'10", 185, right-handed hitter from Cal State San Bernardino, where he will be a redshirt freshman next season. Major is kinesiology. Here's the pitch. Fastball inside, ball 2 to Rudy Casares. And then we will still have Tanner Thibodeau bat, but then we'll have Kevin Riley come in for Johnny Juarez in the cleanup spot. Runners off with the pitch. This one's called a strike at the knees. Throw down to second. And they got Ryan, who was sliding head first. And so Ryan is caught stealing. And that'll do it for this inning. And at the end of 5, it remains a 1-0 score. Bucs on top of AOS. You're listening on InlandValleyBaseball.com. Well, of course, as you are pretty much accustomed to seeing this, as am I, normally about at the 5th or 6th inning, that's when a lot of the changes start coming in. And we do have a number of changes here in the field to start this top of the 6th inning off. 1-0 score. Bucs on top. First pitch, called a strike. 0-1 the count here to John Anderson. Both middle infielders are new. Kevin Riley is now at shortstop, and Rudy Casares is at second base. This one is swung on and fouled out of play behind home plate. 0-2 the count. We also have a new left fielder. That would be BucsVsAOSGm2. And a new right fielder. That is Luke Asperger. Here's the pitch. High and away. Ball 1. 1-2 the count. Everybody else remains in the game. That would be Brooks in center, Ramirez at third, Ryan behind the plate, and Spawn at first. Ground ball right side foul. So we'll do it again. Another 1-2 pitch to come here for Nathaniel Acosta, who has been sailing smoothly in this game, to say the least. Swung on and missed in the dirt. Gets by Ryan. Ryan's going to have to make the throw down to first. It one hops, and Jack Spawn can't handle it. So that'll be credited as an error to the catcher on the strikeout. That'll be the 9th strikeout now for Acosta. But the runner does reach base. As we mentioned, the ball got away from Ryan, and Spawn couldn't make dig to kind of bail Ryan out. Here's Jacob Kaufman. He reached on an error by the center fielder. First pitch misses upstairs, ball 1, 1-0 count. Bryce Brooks has played every position other than second base and catcher this season for the Buccaneers. Squaring around, breaking pitch in the dirt, and nowhere near the zone. The runner will advance to second in the scoring position on the wild pitch. Now you wonder if they might even try to sacrifice again. I mean, there's still no outs here in the 6th inning and trailing by 1 run. If you could get this runner 90 feet away from scoring, 90 feet away from tying the game up with only 1 out, that might be a success for AOS, who has not been able to really get anything. This is ground ball to the third base line. Nathaniel Acosta calling everybody off and throws down to first and makes the play. But the runner does advance on the sac bunt. So the job was done by Jacob Kaufman. So maybe a tough situation right here, or first situation where AOS is looking to score a run as the infield has now come in with the number 10 batter in the lineup, Josh Jacobs, at the plate. Well, for Nathaniel Acosta, well, first of all, you have 9 strikeouts, but secondly, the next 2 hitters coming up. Ground ball left side, right at Ramirez. Ramirez firing home, and they got him at the plate. Nice play by Ramirez, showing really quick reflexes and catching it on the 1 hop and firing home to Miles Ryan and making the play at home plate. So Jacobs is the field. So Jacobs reaches on the fielder's choice. As Anderson is tagged out at home plate. So 2 outs now in the inning. Checks his swing and holds up. Does the number 11 hitter Brian Christensen. And the reason I was saying when he swung that first pitch that even though there was one out, Nathaniel Costa might like these next two hitters is because he actually struck them out the first time. Of course, Jacobs now grounding out to the third baseman, Ramirez, who threw home on the fielder's choice, and now here is the final hitter in the lineup, swings and misses at this one. And it's 1-1 here for Brian Christensen. Not exactly sure why he was swinging at that pitch, to be honest. Here's the 1-1. Swung on and fouled to the right side and out of play, 1-2 the count. The first thing I looked to see on that last one that he swung on was the runner going. Was it supposed to be a hit and run, but the runner was not off. So he just decided to swing at it on his own, a pitch that came way high and inside. Here's the 1-2. Fastball line to the right side over to the head of Jack Spahn. That'll be single. The runner is trying to go to third. The throw from Asperger's off line. And AOS gets another runner at third base now in the form of Josh Jacobs. Meanwhile, Christensen on first with the single. And back to the top of the lineup we go, and Daniel Martinez. Martinez is 1 for 2, singled in the fourth, and grounded out in the first. So Daniel Martinez hoping to give his team a 1-1 tie as a little wind coming in again. Fastball outside, ball 1, 1-0 the count. It's actually, I would say, probably one of the cooler days we've seen here in Pomona this season. 1-0, breaking pitch in the dirt, 2-0. Nice job by Miles Ryan to block that one and gobble it up behind home plate and to make sure once again that the runner didn't potentially come home to score the tying run. The tying run is on third base. Swung on and missed, 2-1 the count to number 2-1 on AOS. 1-0 the score. Top of the sixth inning. Nathaniel Acosta has gone the whole way. Here's the pitch. And another one in the dirt. And it's 3-1. So you wonder if Acosta might be starting to get a little bit tired, as he's seen a lot of pitches bounce in the dirt before home plate in this at-bat. Also giving up a single. Well, this is a hitter's pitch, so let's see if AOS tries to take advantage of it. Liner over towards the second baseman, Casares, and he can't handle it. And it's 1-1. It was hit very hard, but directly at Casares. And AOS ties this thing up. 1-1 the score. And another thing that's plagued the Buccaneers all season long is errors. It'd be interesting to see if you had an official score what they would rule that, but I would probably say error. It was hit right at him. Doesn't matter how hard it was hit. Big breaking ball called a strike at the knees. 0-1 the count here to TJ Carter, who's 0 for 1 with a strikeout. Also reached on a walk in the first inning. And it's a brand new game here in the sixth. 1-1 the score. Ground ball left side at Ramirez, and he will step on the bag for the 5 unassisted putout to finish the inning. But the damage was done in the sense that AOS gets one back and ties this game up at 1 apiece as we head to the bottom of the sixth inning. You're listening on InlandValleyBaseball.com. We'll head to the bottom of the sixth inning. 1-1 the score. AOS getting one back in the top half of the inning. Here is Rudy Casares. Casares came in as a replacement for Michael Smith in the last inning. He swings and misses way out in front of the off-speed pitch and is 0-1. Casares, if you remember, was actually at bat in the fifth inning, but Miles Ryan was caught stealing. Breaking pitch in there for a strike as Casares falls behind. Tanner Thibodeau on deck and Kevin Riley in the hole. Swung on and missed, strike 3. Ball's in the dirt, so the catcher will have to throw down at first and makes the throw. So Casares now 0 for 1 on the day. And here comes Tanner Thibodeau. Thibodeau still with no official at-bats. He was walked in the first and walked in the third. I know for a fact the third time he walked on 4 pitches. And I believe the first time he definitely fell behind 3-0, and then he might have walked on 5, but this time we won't have to worry about that because this is a called strike on a slow off-speed pitch at the knees. 0-1 the count to Tanner. This one is a fastball inside, ball 1. 1-1 the count here. Tanner Thibodeau also has 2 stolen bases in this game. Thibodeau, of course, from Omaha. Ground ball left side. It might have been a cracked bat. Slow roller to the shortstop, who fires into first and retires Thibodeau. Thibodeau looks like he might have been even, I thought he might have been hobbling a little bit, but no, he looks okay as he's walking back in the dugout now. So Thibodeau does get his first official at bat, but doesn't get what he would like in a hit. He just ends up getting a ground ball out, and that's the second out here in the 6th inning. And here comes Kevin Riley. Kevin Riley leading the team in a lot of categories, as this one misses low for ball 1. 1-0 the count to Kevin. We were talking about it earlier with the season winding down. Of course, the All-Star selections will be coming up soon, and I believe they'll be announced on Sunday. Kevin Riley's certainly in the mix for that. Line drive foul down the third base line, and it's 1-1 as Kevin will grab some dirt, kind of wipe his hands with it and get a better grip. 6'1", 185, right-handed hitter from Chaffey College. Swings at this one and hits a high fly ball directly behind home plate and into the bleachers about 3 rows high here at Cal Poly Pomona. Scalinos Field, a very, very nice setting for baseball. Of course, named Scalinos after the legendary coach, Coach Scalinos, who won 3 national championships for Cal Poly Pomona in 1976, 80, and 83. Here's the pitch, and this one actually hits Riley on the left shoulder, and he heads down to first base, so that'll be the first base runner in the 6th inning, and it still holds true that the Buccaneers have had at least one man get on base every single inning except for the 2nd, yet only have 1 run, so that's leaving a lot of men on base. Here is Jack Spahn. Spahn 0 for 2. Flew out to the right fielder and flew out to the left fielder. The one to the right fielder was a line drive. One on the left fielder more of a pop fly. This one's high and tight. Ball 1. 1-0 the count to Spahn. Spahn 6'2", 195, right-handed hitter from Point Loma Nazarene. Majors in, I should say, applied health science. It was a Pac West All-Academic selection last year. Swung on this one and fouled it out of play down the first base line. 1-1 the count to Jack Spahn. Jack Spahn, one of 4 guys leaving the yard this year. Only 4 home runs hit out of the park at Cal Poly Pomona between Buccaneers and Pirates games. But Spahn having one of them, the grand slam. Runner off with the pitch. This one misses high and in. And Kevin Riley is thrown out at second. And so another Buccaneer base runner caught stealing here, as it looks like it's hard to slide over there. For some reason, it looks like when they're sliding, they're just not moving much. But at the end of 6, it remains a 1-1 game. Buccaneers and AOS doing battle. Well, at the top of the 7th. You're listening on InlandValleyBaseball.com. We'll head to the top of the 7th inning. 1-1 the score. This will be a very big inning for Nathaniel Acosta because he is facing the heart of the lineup of AOS. That is A.C. Nunez, Garrett Uliet, and Nick Acosta. So big moment right here for Nathaniel. Fastball outside corner, strike 1, 0-1 the count here to Nunez, who is 1 for 2 on the day. Struck out in the first inning and singled in the 4th. Here's the 0-1 swung and lifted into right field. Luke Asperger tracking it and can't make the catch. The second error out in the outfield as Luke Asperger really struggled seeing where that ball was. And so another error here by the Buccaneers. definitely the third error on the game. I'm trying to think if there's a fourth off the top of my head. No, I believe there's only the three. Two by the outfielders and the one by the second baseman. Still way too many errors again. First pitch is an off-speed pitch that misses low for ball 1-2 Garrett Uliet, who is 0 for 2. A couple groundouts, one to the shortstop and one to the catcher. That was a little nubber off the bat that Ryan tracked down and threw over to first base in time. So another tough day in the field for the Buccaneers. Actually, we do have 4 errors. I was saying there were 3, but there were actually 4. Here's the pitch. Called a strike on the outside corner, 1-1. Fourth error would be actually on Miles Ryan on the strikeout, where the runner reached base. Here's the pitch. Ground ball right side, and that will get through the right side hole, and it's a base hit for AOS. So they have their first 2 runners on base in the 7th inning and are looking to maybe take the lead as Kevin Bowler will now call for time and head out to the mound. Let's see if this will be the end of the day for Nathaniel Acosta, who went 6 very strong innings, 9 strikeouts, and 1 run, but it was unearned. And that will be it for Nathaniel Acosta. So Acosta making a nice start, but here in this 7th inning, first 2 runners reached base. One, of course, not really his fault. That was an error by the right fielder. And then the other one, the single through the right side hole. And it'll be Daniel Diaz coming in to replace Acosta. And we'll step away for a few moments while Diaz gets warmed up. And welcome back. Still in the top of the 7th inning. 2 runners on base, no outs. AOS looking to take a lead. Daniel Diaz is the relief pitcher, which we mentioned, as he came in to replace Nathaniel Acosta. First pitch he throws is a fastball in the outside corner for called strike 1 to Nick Acosta, while the runner on second base is A.C. Nunez, who reached on an error, and the runner on first, Uliet, who had a single through the right side hole. Here is the 0-1. Fastball called strike 2. And it's 0-2. Diaz, 6'4", 170. Plays for Mount Sac, right down the road, probably about a mile away from here. Hometown, Chino Hills, and one of the 5 Aola High School players on this team. Line drive, foul down the right field line, and it remains 0-2 here to Nick Acosta. Acosta 0 for 2 with a couple strikeouts looking. So he's probably happy that Nathaniel Acosta is not still pitching to him. Diaz comes set. Late kick and fires. Big off-speed pitch. Misses inside for ball 1. 1-2 the count. Well, Diaz hasn't logged that many innings this season. Only 8 1/3. 6 strikeouts in those 8 1/3. But also struggling with walks. Walking 8 hitters. Ground ball, left side. Will it stay in fair territory? No, it just rolls foul. So another 1-2 to come here between Diaz and Acosta. If you look at the stats from Mount San Antonio College, Diaz did a very good job in terms of strikeouts per innings pitched. In 12 innings pitched, he had 17 strikeouts, so more than 1 per inning. Right about on par for that here. I mean, 6 strikeouts and 8 1/3 coming into today. So close to 1 strikeout per inning for Diaz. Steps off the mound. Just trying to keep the runners on their toes and make sure that they are attentive and paying attention. Diaz deals the runner from seconds off. This one misses inside, throw down at third, not in time, and now advancing over to second is Garrett Uliet. So we have a double steal, and both the runners in scoring position now with no outs here in the top of the 7th inning. The Bucs took the lead in the 3rd inning on an RBI single by Ryan. And then it was the AOS team who scored in the top of the 6th that tied it up at 1 apiece. And now they are looking to do damage in a major way here in the top of the 7th inning with 2 runners in scoring position and no outs. Here's a pitch from Diaz. Fastball outside corner, called strike 3. And so that is the 3rd time that Nick Acosta goes down looking. Here's Andy Jones. Jones is 0 for 1, flew out to the second baseman in the 5th inning and walked back in the 2nd. Left-handed hitter, right-handed pitcher. The infield is in on the infield grass. First pitch called a strike, and it's 0-1. Pitch was right at the knees. As we mentioned, everybody is on that infield grass. That, of course, is the third baseman, Ramirez, shortstop, Riley, second baseman, Casares, and first baseman, Spawn. Fastball low, ball 1. 1-1 the count for Diaz. Also, it looks like the outfield is playing in case the fly ball is hit to them. They'll be able to come up and try to gun out the runner at the plate. Here's the pitch. Low and away, ball 2. 2-1 the count. That was a good job right there by Andy Jones to leave that pitch because it was really close. Certainly would have been a good purpose pitch on a 2-strike count. Ryan's setting up on the outside. This one swung on a high fly ball to shallow left field, and BucsVsAOSGm2 has it under control, and they're going to try to tag up. BucsVsAOSGm2 is not going to make the throw in time, and wow. I mean, he caught that very, very shallow in left field. And so that'll be an RBI sac fly for Andy Jones. And I'm not sure if Bucsy literally thought that they wouldn't even try to tag up, because it didn't look like he was really ready to come up throwing hard into home plate. He did hit his cutoff man, but honestly, that was not hit very far for a run to be able to score on that play. Now AOS will send out a pinch runner there at second base, trying to plate another run in this inning. They take a 2-1 lead on the RBI sac fly by Andy Jones. Here is Kevin Hornsby. He's 0 for 2. Swings and misses at the first pitch he sees. Struck out in the 2nd and grounded out in the 5th. Here's the pitch from Diaz. Fastball outside, ball. So the 1 run is charged to Acosta, but the 1 run that scores is unearned. Runner, of course, reaching on an error. Called strike on the outside corner. That is the 2nd strike here for Daniel Diaz, who is hoping to get out of this inning without allowing another run. Obviously would love to keep this a 1-run game if you're the Buccaneers. Here's the 2-strike pitch. Swung on and missed, strike 3. So down goes the hitter. That is the 2nd strikeout of the inning for Diaz, but AOS getting another run here in the 7th inning. They got 1 in the 6th and 1 in the 7th, and now take a 2-1 lead as we head to the bottom of the 7th. It's time to stretch here at Cal Poly Pomona. You're listening on InlandValleyBaseball.com. And welcome back. We head to the bottom of the 7th inning. 2-1 the score. Buccaneers trailing AOS. First pitch breaking ball in there for strike 1 against Jack Spawn. Spawn is 0 for 2. Flew out to the right fielder in the 1st inning and flew out to the left fielder in the 4th inning. He was actually up at bat in the last inning as this one misses low and away for a ball. And Kevin Riley attempted to steal and was caught stealing. So that is why he is now up again here at the beginning of the 7th inning. Fastball lined in left field for a base hit. No doubter right there for Jack Spawn, and that'll be a leadoff runner on base for the Buccaneers here in the bottom of the 7th inning. Talking about it a lot, but anytime you get the leadoff runner on base, the numbers always go up astronomically in terms of being able to score that run. Score 1 run in the inning. Here's Bryce Brooks. Bryce Brooks 0 for 1, grounded out to the shortstop in the 2nd inning and walked in the 4th. Bryce Brooks near the lead on the team in RBIs and runs, but he's going to try to lay a sacrifice down the first base line, and he does it to perfection as the pitcher will flip to first to get the out. But the job was done by Bryce Brooks as Jack Spahn moves up 90 feet into scoring position at second base. And here is Luke Asperger. So Luke Asperger stepping in for the first time today. Did come in a couple innings ago, replacing Anthony Rabito, who finishes 0 for 2. Here's the pitch. Slow off-speed pitch called a strike on the outside corner, and it's 0-1 to Asperger. Asperger, 6'0", 190, attends Stanford University. Plays for their club team. Here's the pitch. Fastball swung and fouled behind the home plate and out of play. His hometown is Pasadena. Went to Polytechnic High School, where he was a first-team All-CIF selection and won the CIF-SS championship. Here's the pitch. This is inside for ball 2. 2-1 the count here to Luke. His senior year, he actually hit 9 home runs, was led the CIF Southern section, and hit 443. Here's the 1-2. Breaking pitch swung on and missed. Strike 3. Down goes Asperger. Here comes Gerardo Ramirez. Ramirez 0 for 2. Couple of long fly balls out in the left field. First one hit right down the left field line, and a great play was made by the left fielder to basically rob him of an extra base hit. And in that situation, and then the second one was more of a routine fly ball hit to left center, more of a pop fly than the first one. First pitch to him misses high and inside, ball 1. 1-0 the count. Well, this time he would love to maybe line it out a little bit more in the left field and send home Jack Spahn to tie this game up. Here's the pitch. 1-0, another slow off-speed pitch. This one does make it in there for a called strike, and it's 1-1. So it'll be Ramirez and then Seminaris. Should Ramirez reach base here in the bottom of the 7th inning, Buccaneers trailing 2-1. Fastball line to the left side, over towards the shortstop. He gathers cleanly and fires across the diamond to retire Ramirez. So the Bucs are down here in the 7th inning. They did get one hit up by Jack Spahn, but can't get him any farther than second after sacrificing him over, as it was Asperger who struck out and Gerardo Ramirez who just grounded out. And we'll head to the top of the 8th inning. It's still 2-1, AOS leading the Buccaneers. You're listening on InlandValleyBaseball.com. Welcome back, Dave Soberi on the play-by-play. So glad you joined us for this non-league matchup for the Inland Valley Buccaneers as they take on AOS. First pitch, broken bat, and it'll be a bloop single into left field. So John Anderson reaches base here on the single. Two-1 the score. Bucs are trailing AOS. The Bucs took the 1-0 lead in the 3rd inning on a base hit by Miles Ryan. But then AOS coming back with 1 in the 6th and 1 in the 7th, both unearned. Here's the pitch. This one misses inside, ball 1. 1-0 the count here to Jacob Kaufman. Kaufman is 0 for 1. Did reach on an error in the 3rd inning. Also had the sacrifice bunt in the 6th. Here's the pitch. Nice off-speed pitch in there for a called strike, and it's 1-1 for number 1-1. The Buccaneers pitcher Daniel Diaz, who came in relief in the 7th inning and inherited 2 base runners. One of them ended up scoring on a sac fly to left field. Foul ball. That one going in the adjacent parking lot here down the first base line. 1-2 the count now for Daniel Diaz. Diaz striking out 2 of the 3 hitters he faced. Called strike 3 on the inside corner. And so that is now his third strikeout of the game. I should say he struck out 2 of his 3 hitters he faced in that last inning. Of course, first hitter in this inning singled. But now that is the third strikeout in 1 1/3 innings of work here for number 11. Here's Josh Jacobs. Jacobs is 0 for 2, but did reach on a fielder's choice and ended up scoring back in the 6th inning. First pitch misses low for ball 1, 1-0 the count. So it's Jacobs and then Christensen, and then back up to the top of the lineup for AOS. Called strike 2. Well, for the Buccaneers, we mentioned that the goal was to get to 10 wins, and you really have to start with that goal by winning here today. Still 2 more at-bats to come, though. So, still working with 6 more outs and 2 at-bats to potentially tie it and go ahead. Mentioned the first time these 2 teams played, the Buccaneers did win. They were trailing 5-0 at one point in that game and wound up winning 12-5 with 12 unanswered runs, scoring 5 runs in 1 inning. That was the 6th inning. Then 1 in the 7th to take the 6-5 lead, and then 6 more in the 8th to make it that 12-5 score. Here's the pitch, and that one was nowhere near Miles Ryan, and gets to the backstop as John Anderson will move up 90 feet in the scoring position on the wild pitch. This is definitely the coolest day we've had in Pomona, without question. Also a bit of a breeze, kind of overcast skies. Late kick, and here's the pitch. Swung on and missed for a strike 2. So it's now a full count here for Daniel Diaz, hoping to strike out potentially his 4th hitter in just an inning and 2/3. He comes set, working out of the stretch, and fires. Ground ball foul down the third base line and over towards the third base dugout. So we'll do it again. Another full count pitch to come between Diaz and Jacobs. Diaz comes set, checks the runner at second, and fires home. Nice breaking pitch, called strike 3. And Josh Jacobs pretty much walking back to the third base dugout before it was even called by the home plate umpire, because he was fooled on that pitch and was probably guessing that it would be a fastball, but in comes that breaking pitch, a slow breaking pitch at that, and there was nothing he could do. So that's the 4th strikeout in an inning and 2/3 of relief so far for Diaz, who now will face the final hitter in the lineup, Brian Christensen. He's 1 for 2. Called strike 1, 0-1 the count. Singled in the 6th inning and struck out in the 3rd. So between Nathaniel Acosta and Daniel Diaz, there have been a lot of strikeouts so far today. 13 of them. Fastball low, ball 1, 1-1 the count. But 13 strikeouts don't necessarily get you a win or a lead in this sense, because the Bucs are still trailing 2-1, even though there have been 13 strikeouts. Fastball, strike 2 on the outside corner, and it's 1-2. Also, you can't do it all by yourself as a pitcher. Both runs scored unearned. So you look at it in 13 strikeouts and no earned runs, but this will be a wild pitch, and once again advancing 90 feet is John Anderson for the 2nd time here in the 8th inning. So for Diaz, what you really want to do is, obviously you want to retire the hitter, but you certainly want to make sure that you don't potentially risk throwing another wild pitch and potentially giving up another run. Working out of the stretch, here's the pitch. Bounce to the left side, 2-chopper, charging and making an error is Kevin Riley. So a run comes home to score. It's 3-1 on the 5th error of the game by the Buccaneers. Here's Daniel Martinez. And, of course, that third run is also unearned. Swings and misses at the first pitch he sees. 0-1 the count. Martinez is 1 for 3. Grounded out to the second baseman in the first. Singled in the fourth. And reached on an error in the sixth inning. Runners off with the pitch. Fastball called a strike. Throw down to second is not in time. That'll be a stolen base there for Brian Christensen. But it's 0-2 at the plate. So obviously if you're Diaz, you just want to focus on the hitter and try to get him out here. Ryan's setting up on the outside corner. Here's the pitch. But it comes inside and it's bounced up the middle over towards the second baseman Casares, who makes the catch and throws over to first base. Actually, he almost collided with Kevin Riley because the catch was literally made right at where second base was between both of them. But Casares fielding it backhanded and throwing across his body to complete that final out. And so the Buccaneers get out of the inning but give up another run. So AOS scores 1 run for their third consecutive inning, and they take a 3-1 lead heading to the bottom of the eighth. You're listening on InlandValleyBaseball.com. We'll head to the bottom of the eighth inning. 3-1 the score. AOS has gotten 1 run in each of the past 3 innings to take that 3-1 lead over the Buccaneers. Here's Anthony Seminaris. First pitch to him is a breaking pitch called a strike on the outside corner. 0-1 the count. Seminaris is 0 for 1, grounded out to the shortstop and walked back in the third inning. Mentioned, of course, that he's from Ayala High School, as this one misses low and is 1-1. He was a first-team All-Sierra League selection for them and hit .457 as a senior and made All-CIF as well. Here's a pitch. Lined in the left field, straight at the left fielder, but will it get over his head? No. Nice catch made out there in left field, as it looked like the line drive might be over the head out there, but he makes the backhanded grab going to his right. And Seminaris, I guess, thought that the ball was on the ground as he ran to second base and slid into the bag and dislodged the bag over there at second base for the second time in this game. So I guess it felt good off the bat for Seminaris, and he thought that it had reached the ground out there, but it hadn't, as the catch was made in left field. And Johnny Juarez now comes running out to second base to do a little field maintenance on that bag over there and get it back into the hole. Meanwhile, Mbusi Ashwayo has stepped up to the plate for his first at-bat. He came in for Diego Cortez back in the 6th inning. But this is his first at-bat. 5'10", 170, left-handed hitter from Cal State San Bernardino, where he will be a redshirt freshman next year. He takes fastball low for ball 1, 1-0 the count. His major is computer science. Went to Woodbridge High School in Orange County. Takes this one off the right shoulder and is hit by a pitch. And so Mbusi Lashwayo, really a leadoff type of hitter, top of the lineup type of guy, showing you why right there. Although it looks like we're going to get a pinch runner, and so Diego Cortez will come in to pinch run for Mbusi, because Mbusi is struggling a little bit with a hamstring issue. So it looks like Kevin Bowler has decided that he doesn't want him to risk potentially hurting that hamstring worse. And here comes Miles Ryan. Ryan is 1 for 2. Had the RBI single, scoring the only run of the game for the Bucs. First pitch to him is a fastball called a strike, and it's 0-1. Also struck out in the first inning and was hit by a pitch in the 5th. Another big gust of wind here in Pomona on a unseasonably cool day. Line drive left side, and that is into the outfield for a base hit. So the Bucs now have 2 runners on base here in the 8th inning with 1 out after Miles Ryan records his 2nd hit of the day. And it's now Diego Cortez in at second, of course, because he came in the pinch run for Mbusi last while. And here is Rudy Casares. Casares 0 for 1, struck out in the 6th inning. This is a big situation for number 3 right here, as we have a plane or helicopter flying directly overhead right now. It's pretty loud. I'm not sure if you can hear it at home or not. Big breaking pitch, low and away, ball 1, 1-0 the count to Casares. Actually, it took a pretty long time to make its way over our field. Normally, when we have a helicopter, it goes by pretty quickly. Here is the 1-0, ground to the left side, straight at the third baseman, and that's an error. That eats him up. Diego Cortez hits the brakes and stays at third. As the bases are now full of Buccaneers, all of a sudden, AOS gives 1 error back to the Buccaneers, and Tanner Thibodeau is at the plate, the number 3 hitter in the lineup, and a guy who has been seeing the ball very well lately. Only 0 for 1 today, grounded out to the shortstop, but walked a couple times, and really is feeling very confident about his swing and his approach right now after hitting a home run on Friday against the San Diego Force. And then you have Kevin Riley on deck, so 2 of the biggest power hitters in the lineup. Swings and misses at the first pitch he sees, gets by the catcher, and sliding in foot first, and safe is Diego Cortez, and it's 3-2 as Cortez scores on the wild pitch, and both the runners advance 90 feet, Ryan to third base, and Casares to second base, as Thibodeau was very anxious on that first pitch. First signs of the dugout being a little bit vocal, rooting on Thibodeau here in this 0-1 I should say, situation. Fastball swung on and fouled out of play down the third base line. 0-2 the count. Well, we're going to see what Thibodeau is made of right here. 0-2 the count. Runners on second and third. 1 out. Bottom of the 8th inning. 3-2 the score. Buccaneers trailing. Right in the heart of the lineup. Line drive, right field. Will that get over the head of the right fielder? Trying to make a diving catch, and he will not be able to make the catch. In comes Miles Ryan. In comes Rudy Casares to score. And Tanner Thibodeau is headed to third base with a stand-up triple. A 2-run triple. The Buccaneers take a 4-3 lead here in the bottom of the 8th inning. And he has been playing like the way that Kevin Bowler and Charlie Reynoso initially thought he would play at the beginning of the season when they first saw him. And we mentioned on that first day where he looked like he was going to be very good. As it looks like we're going to have a pitching replacement here for AOS, maybe, as the coach will come out and talk to his pitcher. And Tanner Thibodeau on a 2-strike count. Lines one into right field. Right fielder making an all-out effort. Full extension, trying to make a diving catch, but couldn't get there in time because the ball was hit so hard by Tanner Thibodeau on that triple. And we will have a pitching change here in the bottom of the 8th inning as the Buccaneers take a 4-3 lead. We'll step away for a few moments. You're listening on InlandValleyBaseball.com. And welcome back as we are still in the bottom of the 8th inning. And the first pitch, it looked like it might have hit Kevin Riley, but I guess it did not, as the Buccaneers dugout is vocal all of a sudden. They're vocal because Tanner Thibodeau made some noise with his bat. Fastball outside, ball 2, 2-0 the count. Line drive down the right field line, triple, scoring 2 runs. And the Buccaneers have 3 runs in the inning and take the 4-3 lead. This one is swung on and fouled out of play behind home plate. 2-1 the count here for Kevin Riley. Riley with no official at bat today. He was hit by a pitch his first time up. And almost hit by a pitch his first pitch here. Fastball line down the left field line, base hit, and in comes Tanner Thibodeau to score. That one's going to roll all the way back to the fence in left field, and that'll be a stand-up double for Kevin and Riley. So the Buccaneers bats coming through here with a couple extra base hits in a row. As we had the 2-run triple by Tanner Thibodeau, and now the RBI double by Kevin Riley. Here's Jack Spawn. He's 1 for 3. Flew out to right field and left field, and then singled to left field. Fouls the first pitch he sees back at the box, and it's 0-1 here. But for the Buccaneers, showing a lot of life, obviously, in this bottom of the 8th inning. 4-run bottom of the 8th. Coming into the inning trailing by 2 runs. Now they have that 2-run lead. As it's 5-3. Breaking pitch misses low. Well, the Buccaneers now only 3 outs away from getting their 8th win of the season. As there's a breaking pitch in the dirt that gets by the catcher, and Riley will head to third base on the wild pitch. So the Buccaneers looking for maybe another potential run here, and an insurance run at that, after coming into the inning trailing by 2. Now you're leading by 2 and hoping for an extra insurance run. That's in a good spot right there if you're an Inland Valley Buccaneer fan. Here's the pitch. Fastball catches the outside corner, called strike 2. So Jack Spawn hoping to drive in another run here for the Bucs. And this one is going to get by the catcher, so he won't even have to do it. This is going to be a wild pitch, and Kevin Riley comes home to score the 5th run of the inning for the Bucs. Advancing to third on a wild pitch and advancing home and scoring on a wild pitch. And so it was a 5-run inning that really cost AOS in the first game, where they were leading 5-0 and then give up 5 runs, 5-5. And then the Buccaneers obviously ended up routing them. Here today, another 5-run inning, as this one misses low and away, and Jack Spawn draws a walk. And the inning isn't even over yet. And in fact, we only have 1 out in the inning. That was the first hitter in the inning, Anthony Seminaris, who hit a line drive to the left field and thought that the left fielder hadn't caught it, and wound up running all the way to second and sliding into the bag. Here's the pitch. Fastball lined into left center field by Bryce Brooks, right at the Cal Poly Pomona sign. Rounding second and heading to third is Jack Spawn. And heading to second is Bryce Brooks. So Bryce Brooks showing a lot of speed and hustle there, as the fans are starting to get excited here at Cal Poly Pomona, as this is a good-looking inning for the Buccaneers. So now 2 runners in scoring position. As Bryce Brooks, that was a really good job, kind of alertly seeing that the cutoff throw was coming into third base, took an extra bag to second, and slid in head first safely. Here's the pitch to Luke Asperger, breaking pitch low for ball 1. 1-0 the count. This is Asperger's second at-bat, 0 for 1 with the strikeout. On deck is Gerardo Ramirez. Fastball called strike 1, 1-1 the count. Well, for the Buccaneers, they're only 1 hitter away from batting through the lineup, which is actually 10. This one misses low. Ball 2. 2-1 the count. Here's the pitch. Fastball low and away. Ball 3. 3-1. Well, this is kind of a similar thing to what happened to AOS the first game, just in the sense that looks like they have a good starter who can go about 5 innings or so, maybe 6. Fly ball fell and out of play, but once you get past that 6th inning mark, that's really the threshold, and you need a few relievers to step in and do their jobs as well, and they have not been able to do that in either one of these 2 games. Late kicking, here's the pitch. Swung on and missed. Strike 3. Down goes Asperger. So that is the second out of the inning. And up comes Gerardo Ramirez. So the Buccaneers have officially hit through the lineup, which is 10 players today. Kevin Bowler will come over to Gerardo Ramirez to talk some strategy here. I'm sure Gerardo didn't really think that he would be up again here in the 8th inning. Maybe he thought he would be up again in the 9th, but certainly not in the 8th. Obviously, that's a good thing for the Bucs, who have plated 5 runs here and have a 6-3 lead. Gerardo is 0 for 3. Flew out to left field twice and grounded out to the shortstop. First pitch he swings at is a high, towering fly ball to deep center field, but the center fielder now camping underneath it and making the catch for the final out of the inning. But the job was certainly done here by the Buccaneers in the 8th inning, scoring 5 runs as they came into the inning trailing 3-1 and now lead 6-3 as we head to the top of the 9th inning. Just to kind of recap what happened in that inning, since it was obviously a very, very long inning and a very, very good inning as well for the Buccaneers. Seminaris was the leadoff hitter in the inning, and he lined out to left field. But then we had Mbusi last while getting hit by a pitch, and Diego Cortez comes in to run for him. Cortez ended up scoring on a wild pitch. So that was the second run of the game, which made it 3-2. Then we had Miles Ryan. He singled. And Rudy Casares reached on an error. Both of them scoring on a 2-run triple by Tanner Thibodeau. And that is when the Bucs took the 4-3 lead. Then it was another extra base hit for Kevin Riley of the double variety. That scored Tanner Thibodeau to make it 5-3. And then finally, Kevin Riley ends up coming around on 2 wild pitches, so he scored on a second wild pitch in the inning. And that's where we stand. 6-3 the score as we head to the top of the 9th inning here at Cal Poly Pomona. So glad you joined us for this non-league matchup and what ends up being, well, what we hope ends up being a very good finish for the Buccaneers, who are 3 outs away from notching their 8th victory of the season. Daniel Diaz will remain on the mound for the Bucs, trying to close this one out. And actually is the pitcher of record because the Bucs had fallen behind 3-1 and now lead as he is still on the mound. Not sure if they're potentially thinking of bringing anybody in relief, but Micah Byer is here, but he is in the dugout right now, so I don't think he or Kevin Bowler are thinking about potentially getting him loosened up for coming in this situation. So this is Diaz's game to finish here. First pitch in the 9th inning. Fastball called strike 1. 0-1 the count to TJ Carter. Carter 0 for 2. Struck out in the 4th. Grounded out to third baseman in the 6th. And walked back in the 1st. Strike 2. Carter really didn't like that as he kind of stared at it and shook his head and walks out of the batter's box and now back in. Was a pretty close call. Here is the 0-2. Fastball blown away, ball 1, 1-2 the count. Well, for Daniel Diaz, it's been a very, very strong 2 innings. 4 strikeouts, and the 1 run he allowed was unearned. Ground ball right side foul. Still 1-2. In fact, all 3 runs unearned. All 3 runs scoring because of errors. Here's the pitch. He went. Oh. They say he didn't go. So TJ Carter holds up there on a fastball that was high and out of the zone. But it's kind of a purpose pitch from Diaz to try to catch the hitter chasing out of the zone. Carter just holding up. Here's the 2-2. Swung on and fouled. It was foul tipped, but Ryan couldn't make the catch. So TJ Carter continues to stick around, continues to fight pitches off here, and protect the plate with 2 strikes. Another 2-strike pitch, and this one was a high and in fastball that was at the head of Carter. Had to duck out of the way. And it's 2-2 still, or it is 2-2 I should say, here for TJ Carter. Here's the pitch. Ground ball left side. Gerardo Ramirez bobbles it for second, but still makes the play to first in time to retire Carter for the first out here in the 9th inning. So one away, top of the 9th inning. 6-3 the score. Buccaneers leading AOS. AOS down to their final 2 outs. But they are in the heart of their lineup. And that's AC Nunez and then Garrett Ouliet and Nick Acosta. So they're at least in a spot where they would like to be to try to maybe get a few runs back. First pitch, off-speed pitch in there on the inside corner, called strike 1, 0-1 the count. Late kick in, here's the 0-1, fastball 0-2. So Daniel Diaz looking to notch his first victory of the season. Ground ball left side, fair. This will be a double, as it looked like it was going to be foul. And just from my angle, it looked like it definitely was foul, but it did kind of roll over or bounce over the third base, but still. That'll be a double here for AC Nunez. And it's always tough when you don't have the lines painted out there in the outfield to really decipher whether or not it was for certain a fair ball, but I just can't believe that last one was fair. Here's the pitch. Swung on and missed. Strike 1, 0-1 the count here to Garrett Ouliet, the cleanup hitter in the lineup. He's 1 for 3. Grounded out twice and singled in the 7th inning. Diaz working out of the stretch, checks the runner, fires home. Fastball called strike 2, 0-2 the count. Here's the 0-2 offering. Nice breaking pitch on the outside corner, called strike 3. And that is the second out here of the 9th inning. 5th strikeout in 2 2/3 innings for Diaz. 14th strikeout overall in the game for the Bucs. It was Nathaniel Acosta. It was Nathaniel Acosta who really did well and started the first 6 innings out, and then giving way to Daniel Diaz, who has closed out these final 3. As we mentioned, at 14 strikeouts so far. Breaking pitch in the dirt for ball 1. 1-1 the count here to Nick Acosta, who is 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts looking. So really tough day for this left-handed hitter in the red. 1-1 the count for number 1-1, Daniel Diaz, who comes set and fires. High fly ball to shallow right field. Coming in on it is Luke Asperger, who will make the catch for the final out of the game. And the Buccaneers have won their 8th game of the season. As we mentioned, it was Acosta who started the first 6 innings, struck out 9 no-earned runs, did allow 2 runs though, but none of them were earned. And then Daniel Diaz allows 1 run in 3 innings, strikes out 5, but of course his 1 run also was unearned. So a very well-pitched game for the Buccaneers. Meanwhile, they scored 1 run on an RBI single by Miles Ryan back in the 3rd inning. It took a 1-0 lead. It was Cortez who scored. Then AOS scoring 1 run in the 6th, 7th, and 8th innings, taking a 3-1 lead before the Bucs came back with 5 in the 8th, hit through the lineup. And in that inning, the big hits were the 2-run triple by Tanner Thibodeau and the RBI double by Kevin Riley. A couple runs also scoring on wild pitches in that inning. So the Buccaneers improved to 8-19-1 and are a little bit closer to their goal of potentially finishing the season with 10 wins. They have 3 games left and just want to try to win 2 of them, obviously, if you're the Bucs, to get to that 10-win tally, as they will now have a conference down that first base line with Kevin Bowler, their manager, feeling good about themselves. Thank you so much for listening to this broadcast. We appreciate you listening to this non-league game. The Buccaneers win 6-3 over AOS. We'll be back again tomorrow live At 5 o'clock, it'll be the Inland Valley Pirates taking on San Diego Force, actually. And then on Friday, we'll have a doubleheader featuring the Pirates and Team San Diego. Once again, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.